Every morning when you open your eyes before the world starts talking, you talk to yourself. Because if you don't set the tone, the world will set it for you. Tell yourself, I am blessed to be alive. Somebody didn't wake up this morning, but you did. That's reason enough to stand tall, breathe deep, and move forward with gratitude. Tell yourself, I am responsible for my life. Nobody's coming to save you. The doors won't open themselves. You've got to knock, push, and sometimes break through them. Own your story. Tell yourself, I will outwork my doubts, because doubt is lazy. It shows up without effort. But faith takes grind. It takes sweat. It takes walking forward when you can't see the end of the road. Tell yourself, I am becoming who I'm meant to be. You're not behind, you're not late, you're in process. Every failure, every delay, every disappointment, they're shaping you. Tell yourself, I will protect my peace. You can't let everybody have access to your energy. Some people drain you just by walking in the room. Learn to guard your peace like treasure. Tell yourself, I am bigger than my past. Your mistakes don't define you. Your recovery does. You fell, get up. You lost, learn. You were broken, heal. You're not who you were, you're who you're becoming. Tell yourself, I will walk by faith, not by sight. Because what you see isn't always what's true. Sometimes God hides the finish line so you'll learn to trust the journey. Tell yourself, I am surrounded by purpose. Even in the pain, there's meaning. Every delay has direction. Every loss has a lesson. Nothing is wasted when you believe it's part of something greater. Tell yourself, I will keep my heart pure. Don't let success harden you. Don't let betrayal make you bitter. Keep love in your words, humility in your spirit, and gratitude in your heart. And finally, tell yourself, I will finish strong, because anybody can start something, but it takes character to finish it. Don't let the middle make you forget the mission. Stay focused, stay faithful, stay fighting until your purpose is fulfilled. So before the noise, before the world, before the doubt, speak life into yourself. 9 truths every day, because the words you speak over your life become the walls you live within. You wake up in the morning, and before the notifications start buzzing, before the headlines remind you how broken the world can be, there's a moment of stillness, that breath between sleep and movement. That's the moment we take for granted. The moment that says, you made it. You are blessed to be alive. Not lucky, blessed. There's a difference. Luck is something that happens to you. Blessing is something that flows through you. It means there's still purpose attached to your name. It means there's still something left for you to do. Most people don't stop to realize what that means. We treat life like a given, not a gift. We act like waking up is a routine, not a miracle. But look around. Every breath you take is borrowed time. Every heartbeat is a chance. And if you can recognize that, if you can wake up and say, I'm still here, then you've already started your day with power most people never touch. Gratitude isn't just a nice idea, it's armor for the soul. Psychologists have studied it. People who start their mornings with gratitude are more resilient, more focused, more grounded. It rewires your brain. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from what's broken to what's possible. It's not magic, it's mindset. See, the world will try to convince you that you're not enough until you buy something, wear something, or become something. It'll drown you in comparison until you forget that your existence alone is a victory. But here's the truth. You've already won battles nobody knows about. You've survived nights that could have taken you out. You've carried pain that never got applause. You've stood up after falls that nobody saw. You're not just alive, you're enduring. That's power. When you wake up and tell yourself, I am blessed to be alive, you're not denying your pain. You're declaring your purpose above it. You're saying, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I'm still healing, but I'm here. And that means my story isn't finished. You have to understand, the simple act of being conscious is not small. Out of billions of possibilities, you exist, you specifically. That's sacred, that's divine math. And yet we scroll through life numb, chasing moments that never fill us. We forget that the very fact that we can see, breathe, think, laugh, cry, that's abundance. Gratitude is the foundation of all greatness. You can't build anything real without it. Because when you live from a grateful state, You stop needing validation to move. You stop competing with everyone else's timeline. You stop chasing applause. You work because you're thankful to have work. You love because you're thankful to still have a heart that can feel. And gratitude doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let the darkness define it. You can be grateful and still hungry for more. You can appreciate your blessings and still grind for better. The balance of those two forces, hunger and gratitude, that's where strength lives. Because one keeps you moving, the other keeps you grounded. Too many people want progress without perspective. They want success without soul. But if you don't stop and recognize the blessing of just being alive, you'll climb mountains that don't matter, chase approval that doesn't heal, and fill your life with things that never satisfy. The blessing of being alive is not just about survival. It's about awareness. It's about realizing you've been chosen for this particular moment in history. You've been given a voice that somebody needs to hear, a skill that somebody needs to see, a story that somebody needs to be inspired by. You might not see it yet, but someone's waiting on the light you carry. So when you open your eyes, don't start by checking what the world wants from you. Start by acknowledging what's already been given to you. The air in your lungs, the roof above your head, the lessons you learned the hard way, the people who didn't leave, the strength that didn't break. Those are blessings, not background noise. And here's the thing, when you walk through life aware of your blessings, you treat people differently. You speak softer, you forgive faster, you stop taking the small things for granted, the smile of a stranger, the laughter of a child, the silence after chaos. You start seeing that everything, even the pain, is teaching you something valuable. When you believe you're blessed, life doesn't get easier, you just get clearer. You see meaning where you used to see misery. You see progress where you used to see problems. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That question changes everything, because life stops being something that happens to you and starts being something that happens for you. And that mindset, that calm, quiet awareness that I am blessed to be alive, gives you authority over the day, because no matter what goes wrong, you've already decided that being here is enough reason to keep going. You've already won the morning, and if you win the morning, you win the day. You want power? It starts there. Not with money, not with fame, not with followers, with presence. The power to look around and say, right here, right now, I have enough to move forward. That's peace, that's strength. You might not have everything you want yet, but you have everything you need to begin. Breath in your body, fire in your soul, lessons in your scars. That's the real wealth, because everything external can be taken, but that awareness, that realization that life itself is a gift, that can't be stolen. So tell yourself this every morning: I am blessed to be alive. Say it until you believe it. Say it until gratitude becomes your default setting. Say it until no bad day can shake your foundation. Because when your spirit starts from gratitude, nothing external can define your internal peace. And if today is the only day you're given, live it like it's worth something. Speak truth, love deeper, move with purpose, because being alive isn't the promise of more time. It's the invitation to use the time you have like it matters. So take a breath, feel that heartbeat. That's not just your pulse, that's purpose reminding you it's still here. You are blessed to be alive. And that alone is enough reason to rise, to build, to believe, and to begin again. Closing line: you don't need a perfect life to feel blessed. You just need the courage to recognize that being alive is the blessing. Everything else is extra. You are responsible for your life. It sounds simple, but that one truth separates those who rise from those who remain. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for someone else to fix them. Their parents, their boss, their partner, the government, God. They wait for permission, for validation, for a sign. But the truth is, nobody's coming. Nobody's going to walk into your story and suddenly rewrite it for you. You are the author. You hold the pen. Now, I'm not saying that life is fair. It's not. Some people start with more pain than privilege, more obstacles than opportunities. But even then, responsibility is the only real power you'll ever have. Because when you refuse to take responsibility, you give away control. You start blaming the world, and the moment you do that, the world owns you. You become a victim of everything that happens instead of the architect of what could happen next. See, responsibility isn't about fault. It's about ownership. Maybe it's not your fault that you were hurt, that you were raised in chaos, that you lost people you love, but it is your responsibility to decide what those experiences will mean for you. Will they become the story that defines you, or the story that refines you? That's your choice. Psychologically, we call that the locus of control. People who believe their lives are shaped by external forces, luck, fate, other people, tend to feel powerless, anxious, and resentful. But those who place control inside themselves, who say, no matter what happens, I decide my response, they move through life with strength. They're not easily broken because their power doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on character. You ever notice how easy it is to point fingers? If they hadn't left me, if they just supported me, if the system wasn't against me, we all do it. But every time we do, we give away a little bit of our fire. We hand over our power to something we can't control, and the more we blame, the smaller we become. Responsibility is the opposite of blame. It's the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? You can't change the world until you take charge of your own world. Your emotions, your reactions, your habits, your mindset, that's your territory. That's your kingdom. And the truth is, most people want to rule the world but can't even rule themselves. They want discipline without self-control, respect without accountability, progress without patience. But you can't lead anything outside of you until you've learned to lead what's inside of you. And when I talk about responsibility, I don't mean perfection. You're going to fall short. You're going to make mistakes that hurt people, including yourself. But being responsible means owning that, learning from it, and getting better. It's standing in front of the mirror and saying, yeah, I messed up, but I'm not running from it. I'm going to grow from it. That's how character is built, not through comfort, but through confrontation with your own truth. Life will test you again and again to see if you've learned that lesson. You'll face moments that expose what's really in you. And in those moments, you have two choices: react or respond. Reaction is emotional. It's impulsive, loud, defensive. Response is mature. It's thoughtful, controlled, intentional. The person who reacts gives power to the problem. The person who responds takes power from it. That's responsibility in motion. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you finally stop expecting others to make you happy, because then nobody can take that happiness away. You become your own source. You stop begging for peace and start building it. You stop chasing validation and start creating value. Responsibility turns victims into visionaries. It turns complainers into creators. And let's be honest, it's hard, because once you accept responsibility, you lose excuses. You can't hide behind what they did or how it's always been. You have to face the truth that your future is in your hands, and that truth is heavy. But that weight is what makes you strong. Responsibility is the gym where your soul trains. The more you lift it, the more capable you become. Look, nobody owes you anything. The world doesn't hand out fairness. It hands out opportunity disguised as struggle. If you keep waiting for perfect conditions to act, you'll wait forever. Life doesn't owe you a break. It gives you breath, and that's enough to begin. There's a story I once heard about a man who kept praying for a miracle, asking for a sign that his life would change. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into years. He kept waiting for something divine to pull him out of his situation. One day, he realized the sign had been staring at him in the mirror the whole time. It wasn't coming from the sky, it was coming from within. The miracle wasn't external, it was the moment he decided to move. When you truly understand that you are responsible for your life, you stop negotiating with your potential. You stop lowering your standards to fit your surroundings. You stop giving people the power to dictate your mood. You start leading yourself with purpose, not pressure. Every successful person in any field has that one moment when they stop waiting. They stop blaming, stop complaining, stop explaining. They draw a line in the sand and say, from this point forward, I'm in charge. That's the day their life changes. Not when they get the opportunity, when they get the accountability. And responsibility isn't selfish, it's sacred. Because when you take care of your own soul, when you take ownership of your growth, you become someone others can depend on. Your example gives others permission to rise. You show people that you don't need perfect circumstances to live with purpose. You just need the courage to take control of your own. Every time you hold yourself accountable, you make the world a little better, because the world changes through individuals who refuse to live as victims. People who say, I can't control everything, but I can control how I show up. That's where transformation begins, not in governments, not in systems, but in hearts that take ownership. So if you want to know what real power feels like, stop waiting for someone to rescue you. Stop waiting for the apology that'll never come. Stop waiting for life to get easier. Stand up, take a deep breath, and say, this is my life, and I'm responsible for what I make of it. You might stumble, you might fall, you might even lose faith for a while. But as long as you take responsibility for the next step, you'll never truly be lost, because you'll always be steering the ship, even through the storm. Responsibility is not a burden, it's a blessing in disguise. It's the realization that your life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. And that's where all freedom begins. Closing line, the moment you stop blaming the world and start building yourself, that's the moment life stops happening by accident and starts happening by design. Doubt is a quiet killer. It doesn't come with noise or warning. It whispers, soft enough to sound like your own voice. It tells you you're not ready, not smart enough, not talented enough. And if you listen long enough, you'll start believing it. You'll stop before you begin. That's how dreams die, not from failure, but from hesitation. Every great thing that's ever been built started with someone who had every reason to doubt, but worked anyway, because work is the antidote to doubt. You can't think your way out of fear. You've got to movie your way through it. Doubt feeds on inaction. The more you sit still, the louder it gets. But when you start working, truly working, day after day, when nobody's watching, doubt loses its grip. It can't coexist with effort. The mind plays tricks. It tells you that confidence comes first, then action. But it's the other way around. Confidence doesn't create action. Action creates confidence. Every small step forward is proof. Every time you do what doubt said you couldn't, you build evidence that your fear was lying. That's how you train your mind to trust your effort more than your emotion. See, doubt is not the enemy, it's a signal. It means you're standing on the edge of something that matters. It means you're about to grow. People without doubt aren't brave, they're comfortable. The courageous ones are the people who feel doubt, hear it, acknowledge it, and still show up. They show up tired, afraid, unready, but they show up because they've learned that movement creates momentum, and momentum builds mastery. You can't think your way into mastery. You can't pray your way into progress. You've got to grind. There's no substitute for putting in the hours. Not glamorous work, not public work, but quiet work. The kind of work that nobody claps for, that happens in the dark when it's just you and your dream and your discipline. That's where greatness is built. I've seen people with incredible talent fail because they waited to feel ready. Let me tell. Use something, you'll never feel ready. Readiness is a myth. If you're waiting to feel confident before you act, you'll wait your whole life. The secret is this: act while you're uncertain. Move while you're scared. Do the thing while your hands are shaking. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Philosophically, doubt is part of being human. It's the mind's way of protecting you from risk. But that protection comes at a cost. Safety over growth, comfort over calling. And every time you choose comfort, you reinforce the belief that you're incapable. That's how people shrink without realizing it. They choose smallness one cautious decision at a time. So the question is not, how do I get rid of doubt? The question is, what will I do in spite of it? Because that's what defines your character. Life rewards consistency, not certainty. You don't have to know how it will work. You just have to keep showing up and doing the work. The universe, God, fate, whatever you believe in, it only moves when you do. There's something sacred about effort. It doesn't lie. You can't fake work. You can fake confidence. You can fake smiles, but you can't fake hours. Every rep you put in, every late night, every early morning, it's all adding up, even when it doesn't look like it. Because every time you outwork your doubt, you're writing a new story about who you are. You're saying, I'm not my fear, I'm my effort. You ever notice that when you're working, when you're truly focused, your fear disappears? That's because doubt can't live where purpose is active. When your energy is directed toward building something, you don't have time for self-pity. You don't have room for second guessing. Purpose crowds out doubt. And purpose doesn't mean passion. Passion is a feeling. Purpose is a direction. Passion fades, but purpose stays when the fire burns low. There will be days when you don't feel motivated, when the weight feels heavier than usual. That's when discipline takes over, because discipline doesn't care about feelings. Discipline just does the job. You've got to learn to outwork your emotions. The days you feel doubt are the days you must move faster, push harder, stay longer. You've got to tell yourself, I'm not negotiating with my fear today, because doubt feeds on delay. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you're feeding the voice that says you can't, but when you do it now, right now, even in fear, you starve that voice. Psychologically, repetition rewires your belief. The brain doesn't care whether what you repeat is positive or negative. It just believes what it hears most often. So when you repeatedly act in the presence of doubt, your brain starts believing that doubt doesn't control you. That's how confidence is built, not in theory, but in practice. Most people fail not because they're incapable, but because they stop when it gets uncertain. They stop when progress slows. They stop when it gets quiet and nobody's clapping. But that's the test. That's the part that separates amateurs from professionals, believers from builders. Doubt will always be there, but if you keep moving, it'll always be behind you, not ahead. And here's something I've learned. Your doubt never goes away. It just gets quieter as your work gets louder. The more evidence you create through action, the less volume that voice has. You don't conquer doubt by silencing it, you conquer it by drowning it in proof. You want to stop doubting yourself? Start working like you believe. Show up like you already deserve it. Move like you've already been chosen, because in a way you have been chosen by the fact that you're still here. There's breath in your lungs and purpose in your bones. That's all the confirmation you need. And don't confuse humility with hesitation. Humility is knowing you can always get better. Hesitation is assuming you're not good enough to begin. One keeps you learning, the other keeps you frozen. The humble worker says, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. The hesitant one says, I'll wait until I know more. The difference between the two is destiny. Every time you work through doubt, you prove that faith isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You choose to believe that your effort will matter even when you can't see results. That's faith. Not waiting for proof, but becoming the proof. Because the truth is, your doubt is not the problem. Your silence is, your stillness is, the absence of effort is. If you want to silence that voice in your head, give it evidence. Give it progress, give it consistency, outwork it. When you start to move like that, with consistency, with grit, with faith, you begin to realize something powerful. Doubt isn't a wall, it's a doorway. And every time you walk through it, you step into a stronger version of yourself. So when that voice of doubt starts speaking, let it whisper, let it try, and then get to work. Let your sweat answer what your fear can't. Let your actions speak louder than your hesitation. Let your work ethic make the argument that your words can't win. Because the people who change the world aren't the ones who never doubted. They're the ones who kept going, despite of the doubt. Don't wait to feel ready. Work until doubt has no room left to speak. You are becoming who you're meant to be. Those words sound simple, but they carry a truth that most people never learn to trust. Because becoming is not easy. It's not instant. It's not glamorous. It's not something you can post about or measure in likes. Becoming is slow, painful, unpredictable work. It's the process of being stretched, stripped, and shaped into something stronger, something more real. Most people don't struggle because they're lost. They struggle because they think they should already be there. They confuse growth with arrival. But life isn't a straight line. It's a series of seasons. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. Yet, you're supposed to be figuring it out. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be progressing. That's the difference between those who give up and those who evolve. One demands completion, the other embraces becoming. The truth is, Everything alive is in process. Trees grow roots before they grow fruit. Caterpillars disappear into darkness before they ever fly. Even the sun has to rise before it shines. Why would you be any different? The becoming phase is the most sacred part of your journey, the one nobody claps for, the one nobody sees, but the one that decides everything. You can't rush transformation. If you try to skip the waiting, the learning, the building, you'll end up living a shallow version of your potential. The world moves fast, and it'll tell you that speed equals success. But there's a kind of depth that only time can build. Patience is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because real growth takes roots, it takes character, it takes the humility to let the process work on you even when it hurts. And it will hurt. Growth always does. It's supposed to. You can't become something new without leaving behind something old. You'll lose people, you'll outgrow environments, you'll question your path. You'll feel torn between who you were and who you're becoming. That tension isn't failure, it's proof that you're evolving. Change feels uncomfortable because your spirit is expanding beyond what your old life can hold. Psychologically, this is called identity restructuring. The painful but necessary rewiring of how you see yourself. It's what happens when your vision outgrows your habits, when your values start to shift, when your purpose begins to demand more from you. The mind resists it because the familiar feels safe even when it's unfulfilling. But growth asks you to choose purpose over comfort, to walk away from what's easy and step into what's necessary. The problem is, we've been conditioned to worship the finished product. We celebrate the breakthrough, but not the breaking. We praise the outcome, but not the process. We want the mountaintop, but we don't want the climb. But becoming demands the climb. It demands endurance, humility, and faith, especially faith. Because when you're in the middle of becoming, you won't always see progress. You'll just feel pressure. And that's where most people quit, not because they can't handle pain, but because they can't handle uncertainty. They want to know when it'll all make sense. They want proof that the sacrifice will pay off. But faith means moving without proof. It means trusting that every unanswered question, every delay, every detour is shaping something within you that the world can't see yet. You have to remember, there's a version of you that exists beyond your current struggle. A version that's wiser, stronger, and more disciplined. But you don't become that person by wishing. You become them by enduring. You earn your future through consistency. Every late night, every choice to keep going when quitting seems easier. That's you becoming. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. Becoming is lonely because the path of growth always leads you away from the crowd. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will support your transformation. Some people liked you better when you were smaller, when your goals were manageable and your mindset was predictable. But don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The ones meant for your next chapter will meet you there. The beauty of becoming is that it's not about comparison. You're not supposed to become them. You're supposed to become you. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs your original expression. Your experiences, your scars, your story, they're not accidents. They're the raw materials of your becoming. Everything you've been through is preparing you for what you're meant to do. Think about it. The pain you survived taught you empathy. The failures gave you perspective. The waiting built your patience. The rejection sharpened your focus. Nothing is wasted. Life has a strange way of using the pieces you wanted to throw away to build the foundation of your purpose. But you've got to let it. You've got to trust the slow, unseen work that's happening beneath the surface. Philosophers and psychologists alike have said that the greatest tragedy in life is not death, it's potential left unfulfilled. And that's what happens when people resist becoming. They settle for familiar misery instead of unknown growth. They trade transformation for temporary comfort. They stop evolving because change scares them more than stagnation. But you can't become who you're meant to be if you're still clinging to who you were. And that's the secret right there. Letting go of timelines, letting go of expectations, letting go of the version of you that was built to survive so you can step into the one that's meant to thrive. The old you is necessary for survival. The new you is necessary for purpose. You can't carry both. It takes courage to admit that your old ways no longer serve your new vision. It takes maturity to outgrow environments without bitterness. And it takes wisdom to understand that change doesn't mean you've lost yourself. It means you're finally finding yourself, because becoming isn't about adding more. It's about shedding what's no longer real. And when you look back, you'll see it. The things you thought were delays were really directions. The moments you thought were endings were beginnings in disguise. Every heartbreak, every failure, every setback was chiseling you into someone capable of carrying the blessings you were asking for. The process wasn't punishing you, it was preparing you. The world tells you to chase success, but what you should really chase is becoming, because success without self-awareness leads to emptiness. You can win the world and still lose your soul if you never learn who you are in the process. But when you focus on becoming, everything else falls into place. The right people, the right opportunities, the right timing, they all align when you're aligned. So if you're in the middle of becoming, if life feels uncertain, heavy, confusing, don't despise it. This is sacred ground. The discomfort means you're growing. The confusion means you're evolving. The resistance means you're getting closer to who you're supposed to be. Don't rush it, don't run from it, trust it, because one day you'll wake up and realize that the version of you were fighting to become has quietly arrived, not because of luck, not because of shortcuts, but because you stayed when it was hard. You worked when it was slow. You believed when it didn't make sense. You kept becoming. The journey begins within. No, most people spend their whole lives trying to figure out who they are, chasing titles, chasing validation, chasing the world's definition of success. But the truth is, who you are isn't something you find out there. It's something you grow into in here. Becoming who you're meant to be isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the person you were created to be before the world told you who to be. The noise of the world tries to drown out your soul. Everyone's trying to tell you what's right for you, what career to choose, how to look, who to love, what's normal. But the voice that matters most, that whisper inside your chest that says, this is not who I am, I'm meant for more. That whisper, that's your calling, trying to break through the noise. The struggle that shapes you, see. People want transformation, but they don't want tension. They want purpose, but they don't want pressure. Let me tell you something. Becoming who you're meant to be will hurt. Growth always does. There's a season where everything you thought you wanted will start to fall apart. People you trusted will leave. Doors you were counting on will close, and you'll question everything, including yourself. But listen, that's not punishment. That's preparation. Pressure is what turns dirt into diamonds. Fire is what purifies gold, and struggle is what reveals strength. So when it feels like life is tearing you apart, it's really just building you into something stronger. You are not being destroyed. You are being designed, the mirror and the mask. Too many people are trying to become somebody else because they think that's what success looks like. But becoming who you're meant to be means taking off the mask, the one you wear for the world, for approval, for applause. Look in the mirror. What do you see? Do you see a reflection of who you truly are, or a version you've built to please everyone else? Sometimes you've got to unlearn the lies. You've got to say, I'm not my failures. I'm not my reputation. I'm not my past. I am a work in progress, and that progress is sacred, because authenticity will take you places pretending never will. The power of patience. Everybody wants to arrive, but nobody wants to wait. We live in a generation addicted to speed. Fast money, fast fame, fast results. But destiny doesn't operate on your schedule. It unfolds on divine time. Becoming who you're meant to be is not a race, it's a rhythm. Some days you'll feel like you're flying. Other days you'll feel like you're crawling. But progress is progress, even when it's silent. The seed doesn't complain while it's buried. It knows the darkness is part of the process. So be patient with your growth. Be patient with your pain. Some of the best chapters of your story will take time to write. The people you outgrow. Let me tell you something hard. Not everyone can come with you. When you start growing, you start outgrowing. There are people who loved you when you were small, but they can't handle your expansion. They're comfortable with your old self, not your new one. And that's okay. Don't resent them. Release them. Because every level of your evolution requires a new environment. You can't become who you're meant to be while staying in spaces that shrink you. Sometimes peace looks like walking away. The calling that costs you your calling will cost you something. It'll cost you comfort. It'll cost you popularity. Sometimes it'll cost you your sleep, your time, your relationships, because purpose is not cheap. But hear me, the price of staying the same is always higher than the cost of change. You weren't made to blend in, you were made to stand out. And standing out will always come with resistance. But don't be afraid of resistance. It's a sign you're pushing in the right direction. Faith in the becoming. There will be moments when you don't recognize yourself, when your old habits are gone, but the new version hasn't fully formed yet. That's the in-between. That's the space where faith must speak louder than fear. Faith says, I don't have to see it to believe it. Faith says, I may not be there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday. Faith says, even when it doesn't look like it's working, it's working. You've got to trust the process, even when you can't predict the outcome.